Here we go.
It's time for the Lowell Green Show, originating live on blasttheradio.com. Ask your smart speaker to play Blast the Radio. Live video available on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Email Lowell at blasttheradio.com. The number to call or text is 613-413-2217. And now, telling it like it is, here's Lowell Green.
Thank you, John. You know, because the news is so grim these days, especially filled with bad cop stories, I'd like to change the mood just a little bit for the early part of the program. I want to tell you a few personal, these are all true, good cop stories. And I hope you can get a chuckle or two out of some of them. Heaven only knows, I hope you agree, we could use the odd chuckle these days, right?
Yes, sir.
So let me take you back the mid-'70s, okay? The Green Line, the big show on CFRA, is winning the ratings war with a bullet. Our pet shops are finally making some money. The economic struggle is over. A second-hand Lincoln car comes up for sale. Myers gives me a great price, so before you know it, I am the proud owner of a beautiful new apricot-colored Lincoln. Man, I am living the high life. Until one day I get off the air, off the program, CFRA. I head down to the CFRA parking lot on Isabella. My pride and joy is gone. Some low-down, rat-bellied snake has stolen my Lincoln right out of the CFRA parking lot in broad daylight, if you can imagine. Incensed. I can't believe this. You know, I mean, this is the 70s. People don't steal stuff like that in this. Well, they shouldn't be stealing my car anyway, right? So incensed, I go back upstairs and I join Trevor Kidd. You may remember him.
Oh, yeah.
At the afternoon show. I join him on air. And I ask his audience, please be on the lookout. I tell the whole story. So I say, be on the lookout for an apricot-colored 1974 Lincoln because it is stolen. If you happen to spot it, and I think I may even give him the license number, if you happen to spot it, don't do anything. We don't know if this guy is dangerous, had stolen it. Call the cops, okay? Let's see if we can get my car back. So I do a little pitch with Trevor. Trevor elaborates on it a little bit. You know Trevor, he was the great storyteller himself. And as I leave the building, the switchboard operator calls me over and she says, Lowell, there's a guy here on the phone says he's got your car. Do you want to talk to him? Geez, do I want to talk to him? Absolutely. So I get on the phone. Believe it or not, it's the guy who stole my car, or at least so he says. He's halfway to Montreal. And he says he's sorry as hell, okay? Geez, Mr. Green, he says, I'm your biggest fan. If I'd known this was your car, I would never have stolen it. Okay, I say, how'd you like to return it? Okay, if I return it, you won't call the cops, eh? I make the agreement. He says, okay, I will bring it back. He says, I'm about an hour and a half drive away near Hawkesbury. He said, I'll bring it back. I'll leave it in the Talisman Motor Hotel parking lot. Okay, I said, okay, and you won't call a cop? No, okay, I won't. I agree. So I don't really believe him. But on the off chance that maybe it's not some sort of kook, I go down a couple hours later to the Talisman, and there it is. There's my apricot-colored Lincoln car in the Talisman parking lot. About 2 hours later, I get a phone call from the guy. He said, Lowell, I just want, Mr. Green, he never called me Lowell, Mr. Green. He said, Mr. Green, I just want you to know, sir, that if I had delivered that car to Jean Talon and Saint Hubert in Montreal, I would have gotten $3,000. I said, well, that's good. So fast forward now, probably another 3-4 years, okay? I get a phone. I'm down at the health club on Argyle Street. And they call me out of the handball court. There's a cop, wants to talk to me. He said, Lowell, do you know a guy? And he gives me a name, I forget it now. I'd never heard of it. He said, do you know this guy? And he gives me his name. I said, no, doesn't ring a bell with me. I said, why? Well, he said, we caught him stealing lumber down here at Beaver Lumber. and he claims that he's a good friend of yours and wants to use you as a reference. Says that you might bail him out. Oh, I said. And how does he say that he's my friend? Well, says the cop, the guy claims that he's the one that found your stolen car. So suddenly it dawns on me, son of a gun, this is the guy that stole and then returned my car. They catch him 4 years later in stealing lumber, and he wants to use me as a reference. So anyway, it was such a hilarious story. I told the cop the whole story. The cop is laughing the whole time. He said, "You know what, Lowell?" He says, "We got to charge the guy with something, but I'm going to reduce it to simply break and enter." So anyway, I tell you, that's the last I ever heard of that guy. If you told me his name today, I would not remember it, but I sure remember him returning my car. Now, stay with me now. In the 70s, I'm MC for a big event at what is now the Black Sheep Inn in Wakefield. I think it was called the Wakefield Inn then. The guest speaker is none other than Jean Lesage. He's former premier of Quebec. He's now the opposition leader. He is the father of the Quiet Revolution in Quebec, and he's very highly regarded and highly respected in the province of Quebec. Jean Lesage, a great guy. So I'm sitting next to him. We're sitting at the head table. They haven't served us meal yet, so I get into a little bit of conversation. Find out he's a really good guy. We're both great fans of the Montreal Canadiens, so we really hit it off. In the middle of our conversation, a waiter comes over, whispers in my ear, "Mr. Green," he said, "I've got a phone call from your brother. He's in the Hull jail and he's crying. He needs to talk to you right away." Oh my God, what is this? So I excuse myself from Jean Lesage. I get up, go to the phone, and it's my brother, Paul. He's only 16. He's an orphan now. Both his mother and father are dead. He's come to live with us in Wakefield. And he's with his buddy, Mike Hammer, believe it or not. Mike Hammer has just turned 16 as well and bought himself this old jalopy. And they've been caught speeding coming down the Wakefield Hill. And we had in those days in Wakefield a cop. He was a local cop. This guy should have been someone's gardener. He dressed himself all up in more braid than you would need to tie up the Queen Mary. At any rate, I don't know exactly what happened, but the cop pulls the car over. Okay, they're speeding down the hill, probably because they had no brakes. I don't know. So somehow or other, Mike Hammer, I guess, gives this cop, this old guy, some lip. The guy pulls out a gun and puts it not to Mike Hammer's head, but to Paul's head. So Paul says, "Geez," he was shaking so bad. He said, "I thought I was a goner." So anyway, Paul, my brother, is scared out of his wits. He's heard all sorts of stories about Quebec cops and rubber hoses and all the rest of it. So he's sort of half crying and in a panic. So I'm telling him, "Paul, look, whatever you do, just do whatever they say. Don't give anybody any lip. Just if they say to lie down, whatever it is, do it." I said, "Soon as this dinner is over," I said, "I can't leave now." I said, "Soon as the dinner is over, I'll rush in and I'll get you out of there. Okay?" "Okay, but hurry up, please." Okay. So I go back. And so Jean Lesage leans over and says, "Everything okay, Mr. Green?" So I told him the story. He said, "Oh, where is he now?" I said, "He's in the Hull jail." Oh, he gets up and leaves. He's gone for about 2 minutes. He comes back. He's got a little bit of a shy grin. We have dinner. And anyway, they're just serving us dessert. And the town of Wakefield is shattered by the sound of not one, but two cop car cruiser sirens going full blast. The lights, the whole business. Two cruisers pull up. Who pops out? My brother Paul and Mike Hammer. I have no idea what Jean Lesage said to the cops down there, but very clearly, I guess in those days, you get a call from the opposition leader, the former premier, and he says, put in a good word about, I guess you let him go. Not only did they let Paul and Mike go, but they give him a police escort back to the Wakefield Inn. And no charges were ever laid. So I have one more story. Paul is actually my half brother. As I say, we have the same mother, but his father, who, by the way, was a veteran of the Italian and Dutch campaign, his father was killed. He was a hydro lineman and touched a live wire, I guess. And it's a terrible story. But at any rate, so at age 16 or 15, Paul comes to live with us. But he he goes back to Brantford and he becomes a policeman, a Brantford cop. Okay. So, and he retired actually as a staff sergeant with all kinds of stories, some of which I'll tell you a little bit later. So, anyway, so here we have the situation. My brother is this cop in Brantford, Ontario. So, I'm sitting in the Ottawa airport waiting for Debbie, who is returning from Vancouver. And there's a plane unloads, and there's a very well-dressed businessman with a briefcase walking by. He glances at me, stops, wheels around, and comes back and says, "You're Lowell Green, aren't you?" I said, "Oh, God, what's this now? What have I done?" I said, "Yes, I am. I plead guilty." He says, "I got to tell you a little story." He introduced himself as some official, I think it was with Imperial Oil. So he and a couple of his buddies had been in Brantford. They had opened apparently a new big station there. They're leaving town. They forget what they are. Anyhow, this cop pulls them over for speeding. So the guy, the Imperial Oil guy, tells me, he said, "Well, we did everything we could to convince him. We told him that we were employing a dozen people here, and this is for great business, and we were really sorry, and all the rest of it." Cop wasn't buying any of it. Says, give me your licenses, boys, and your ownership." So I hand over my license. The cop looks at the license. He says, "Oh." He says, "You guys are from Ottawa?" "Yes, we are." Says the cop. "You happen to know a guy up there named Lowell Green?" "Yeah, we do. He's got a talk show at the local station." "What do you think of him? You like him?" "Yeah, we think he's great." "Good. He's my brother." And he rips up the ticket. So anyway, a couple of days later, then he leaves and he's laughing and everything. So a couple of days later, I phoned Paul and I said, "Now, Paul, you have to be honest with me." I said, "What would have happened if the guy said that I was some sort of an a-hole or something?" "Oh," he says, "I would have nailed their hides to the wall." So, oh my God, anything you want to talk about, folks? Lines are available. I just thought that maybe it's time to share a little bit of good news. I've got a million other stories, some of which involve cops, believe it or not. But anything else that you want to talk, please let us know. John, we have some emails coming in.
Absolutely, some of the comments. So regarding the car being returned to you by that gentleman, Eric says, "See, Lowell, some people do like you." Tim says, "Story time with Lowell. What a nice change from all the gloom and doom, Line 5, and COVID news these days." Lisa concurs. She says, "These stories are a good distraction from the COVID crapola." And Chrissy says she's waiting in line for her COVID test and listening to you. So
Good.
There you go.
Good. Keep listening. By the way, we should also tell people that if you've got friends, neighbors, etc., we don't have the resources of big companies. We're not Bell Media here, etc. So if you've got a friend or let them know that this show is on the air. This is a damn good show, and this is a damn good radio station. In fact, John, you won the Faces Radio Station of the Year award.
Faces
right?
Magazine, Ottawa's best radio station, beating out all the big boys.
It's a hard concept for some people to realize that times have really changed, and not all good radio these days is on the AM or FM dial. Okay, sometimes there's a really good radio and it's right here. But let your friends know. This is one of aside from Rob Snow in Ottawa, and in fact in most of Ontario, this is about the only conservative points of view you're going to hear. The conservative points of view, aside from Brian Lilly and the Sun, pretty well dried up. And I'm going to tell you something, that attempts are still being made to dry up Rob Snow, and I haven't heard about me. But so if you think that kind of programming is important, even if you don't support the conservative point of view, if you believe that a little bit of opposition is healthy, let your friends, your neighbors know where they can find it, please. Yes, John, you got some more memos coming in here?
It's funny that you mentioned, please tell your friends, because I just got an email moments ago from Dave. Says, "Hey, Lowell, longtime listener. I just found out from a friend that you have a podcast. So thank you to the friend. Appreciate that very, very much." Let me see. We've got people saying, "Love this show." Tim is suggesting you do something called Tuesday Tales from the Island of Sanity. They love your stories. Jim says, "Great show, man. My cheeks are sore from smiling." Wow, that's something you haven't heard for the last little while through COVID. And Mike says, "Thanks for reminding me. I forgot to share." Yes, thanks for sharing. Blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green has all the information for this show right there for you.
I have, and now that I'm in the mood, I have to tell you another little story. My brother, has, as you can imagine, as a cop, has got some great stories. Some of them grim and some of them pretty funny. But he tells the story. This is a number of years ago, and he's a staff sergeant in Brantford. Okay, city cop, a good cop. And Brantford is being plagued with a series of home break-ins. They're stealing all sorts of stuff. So he's out patrolling. Even though he's the staff sergeant, he still likes to go. So he's out patrolling. Lo and behold, he sees this broad daylight. He sees this guy lugging a big television set across a lawn. He says, "Holy jeez, that's the guy that's doing the break-ins." So he rams the cruiser up, jumps out and gives chase. While the guy drops the TV, he runs off. The guy, I guess, is faster than Paul, and so jumps into his car and takes off. So there's a big car chase. My brother is chasing this guy. So they go into one of the big low rent developments, okay, windy streets and so forth. And Paul, as he's chasing him, loses sight for about 1 minute of where he went. He knows where he went because there's a drug house. And so he comes up to the drug house. The next door neighbor says, "Yeah, he just went in there." But because the law says, this shows you how handicapped our cops are. The law says that unless Paul actually saw this guy go in, that he cannot go in there and arrest him. He's got to get a warrant. So even though Paul knows he's there, the neighbor says, "I saw him go in there." Paul can't do anything. He's got to get a warrant. So anyway, what the hell can he do? So he goes to a judge. He gets a warrant. Of course, by the time the warrant, there's nobody to be found. But he knows that it's a drug house. So you know what? He said there's 2 or 3 guys living in there that are pushing drugs. So he says every time it was kind of quiet in Brantford, I would send some guys down with cruisers and they would shine spotlights up into the house. And he said you could hear the toilets flushing as they poured all the drugs down the toilets. So he said finally the guys left. He said, "I did my job." So just one little story about some of the difficulties, the impediment. You wonder why crime is on the increase. Man, I'm telling you, if you talked with a retired cop, you would not believe some of the impediments in their path. I mean, policing today, in many cases, almost impossible. Yes, John, you have some more emails coming in.
Somebody by the name of Paul would like to say hello. Paul says, "Hi, Lowell. It's your brother."
You're kidding, really?
No, he's there on Facebook. Paul Linda on Facebook.
Oh, I should get Paul on the air sometime. He's got some great stories. Like the time that he went to kick a door in and his foot goes through the door. So he's caught there. Yeah, hobbled. He's got 1 foot in the door. He can't get his foot out of the door. It's stuck in the broken door. Oh yeah, a million stories. But as I say, Paul, thank you. And you know what? Thank you for all your years of service as well.
Yes.
I have to deal now with somebody else has many years of service. I'm talking about Shields. Shield. Then it's Shield Appliances, Furniture and Appliances. But on the website, it's Shields. A little bit of confusion sometimes. SCHEELS.ca. There you will see all of the product. And they've done, whoever has done the website for Shield has done a hell of a great job. It's a very well done website. If you go there, you'll see it yourself. You'll see all of the product that they have and everything, the furniture, the appliances, etc., electronics. You'll see it all there. You'll see the prices. You'll see pictures. You'll see the prices. And you will see the savings. Right now, Shields has a savings underway. You can save, as I see, up to $600. Save money. You don't have to wait. They have a huge warehouse. They probably have exactly what you want in stock. They're good people, local people in business since 1947. These are the kind of people you want to support. Thank you. John, have we got some more emails coming in? No?
We'd love some calls. And again, you're inviting people to call and talk about absolutely anything. Maybe they've got a great story to share with you as well. 613-413-2217 is the number here. Eric says, "Nice distraction today. Thank you, guys." And Paul is getting a lot of votes. People would like Paul to to join you on the show. So let's make that happen.
Poor old Doug Ford. I mean, this guy just simply cannot win. I mean, he is the bearer of bad tidings. And there is no way if you're going to try and fight this that you're going to please everybody. I mean, there are people, and apparently plenty of them, who don't think we should be doing anything. that we shouldn't be wearing masks, we shouldn't be distancing, everything should be wide open, et cetera, et cetera. In which case we'd be more or less like Delhi and people would be dying on the streets. But anyway, those people are out there. So if any action is taken whatsoever, they're mad at him. It's his fault, okay? And then, of course, there are the other people on the other side who don't think he's done enough, and they're mad at him. So everybody's mad. Now, poor old Doug Ford, he's had to self-isolate because a member of his staff has come down with COVID, so he's got to self-isolate. Now people are blaming him for that, saying, "Oh, you're just running away." You know, I see posts, et cetera, et cetera. I don't agree with everything that he has done, but what a position that he is in, and then we keep coming back to the fact that the problem here is the fact that there just simply aren't enough vaccines. As a matter of fact, I was talking. I haven't been able to talk with Doug himself the last little while. He is so busy. This, you know, you may dislike the guy, you may hate his guts, but I'm going to tell you, this guy is out there working 15, 20 hours a day. The last few days, he has spent hours, half the night, phoning other governments, other officials, health officials, trying to get some more vaccines, because the news has just come through that AstraZeneca, the AZ, that they are cutting back by about 50%. And now Moderna says it's going to delay. We were supposed to get, I can't keep track of how many we're supposed to get, but apparently we're not going to get most of them until the end of May. In the meantime, we've got this terrible third wave. And of course, in the meantime, we've still got airplanes coming in, excuse me, from Delhi, from Brazil. We're now finding out that most of the COVID cases, infections, came from people traveling in from the United States. But all kinds of them came in from Delhi and now from Brazil. BC, and I mentioned this yesterday, BC is having a terrible time with the so-called Brazilian variant. Why? Well, because they had a plane come in from Brazil with some people who are infected. They claim that they're having proper isolation and screening, et cetera, et cetera. Very clearly, they are not. We wouldn't have any of these variants if, in fact, the isolation, the screening worked. It does not work. That's why we have all of these variants that are now taking over. Barry, we haven't heard from Barry for a while. It would not be a week gone by without Barry's wisdom. Yes, Barry, give us some wisdom here, sir. Barry Wisdom.
You caught me, Lowell.
Sorry to wake you.
I didn't know. I don't know. I don't know if you can get much wisdom out of me today, but I'm just calling to say I'm glad to see that finally someone in the media has stood up and asked a straight question to the Liberals. On Monday night on the national news, I don't know if you saw it, but Lisa LaFlamme, the anchor for CTV National, had an interview with Chrystia Freeland about the new budget. And Lisa LaFlamme at one point asked her, she said, well, last year when COVID started, like I might not have the exact words, but she asked Chrystia Freeland, last year when COVID came in, you granted an extension to people on their tax returns, and yet this year the Liberal government isn't doing that. How come? And Chrystia Freeland started to go into this big, long diatribe about, oh, well, we know Toronto's in a bad way with COVID and the vaccines and all this stuff. And after Chrystia Freeland finished all her blah, 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 Lisa LaFlamme said to her, what's that got to do with extending people's tax returns? And Chrystia Freeland, she was just sort of taken aback a little bit. And you could see Lisa LaFlamme had a grin on her face. And it was just like, how much more BS am I going to get? And and Chrystia Freeland said to her, oh, well, you started it by saying something about COVID, and I thought we were going to talk about COVID. And, it's almost looked like Lisa LaFlamme was at the point where she was going to start shaking her head.
Well, it's amazing to me, the fact that by and large, Trudeau is still getting away with this. I mean, if we had plenty of vaccines, we wouldn't have these problems of who gets it, when, et cetera, canceled appointments. That's all because we don't have the sufficient vaccines, and I've said this before, Barry. I've said it many times. This is becoming a great mystery. We were told repeatedly by Trudeau, you heard it, that he had ordered more vaccines per capita than any other nation on earth. Where the hell are they? Now, there's another figure that's very disturbing. He claims that so far we have spent $8 billion on vaccines. Well, if you do the mathematics, you will see that that works out to about $100 per dose, at least dose that we have thus received. Now we find out that other nations are paying $20, $30 a dose, but apparently we in Canada have paid $100 a dose and we're not even getting it. Where is the vaccine? All of these vaccines that he claimed that he ordered, where the hell are they? The United States, as you know now, has opened it up totally, as has the UK. Anybody age 16 or more in the States or the UK or in Israel, you walk up, you don't have to make an appointment, you just get vaccinated. The United States is now vaccinated. Like yesterday, they did almost 5 million people yesterday. The United States is vaccinating more people on a weekend than we have in almost 5 months because we don't have it.
I don't think that our Prime Minister understands the concept of supply and demand, because the demand was high for it, and the drug companies sold a lot of their stock off of the vaccine, and then the demand went up, so the price went up. And that's probably why we're paying a lot more than those that ordered first.
But where the hell are they? Thank you, Barry. I welcome your call, no question about it. So here is poor old Doug Ford. He's out there on the phone. He's doing something that he really is not his responsibility, trying to track down more vaccines. And by the way, apparently they're doing the same thing in Manitoba. I don't know if you heard what's happened now in Manitoba. They're so short of vaccines in Manitoba that they have made an arrangement with North Dakota that all of the truckers can go down to North Dakota, and North Dakota will give them vaccine because they can't get them vaccinated in Canada. This is outrageous. All right. I'm going to calm down. I can smell, my wife is making me lunch and it smells delicious. Smells delicious out there. I have no idea what it is, but it smells good. I've had a real treat. 2 days ago, I had 2 lobster tails. I haven't had lobster. I can't tell you how long. It was great.
Wow.
Yesterday, she fed me 2 crab cakes. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm being very amply rewarded, believe me.
She's trying to keep you away from the A&W again.
Wants to keep me away from the teen burgers.
Yep.
Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
It's a good way to do it. talking about being rewarded. Here we go. How's this for Centennial Glass? If you contact Centennial Glass, you're going to be rewarded. You know with what? Great service, great prices, great products. What else could you want? If you're in the market for glass of any kind, custom-made glass furniture, mirrors, windows, doors, whatever it is, even repairs of all kinds. They do it all. They don't farm out the work. It's all of the work at Centennial is done by their own people, and they take a lot of pride. I know some of the workmen. I've been in there. I've been with them, spent time with them, watched some of them as they work away, and I can see the pride they take. You know what? They're proud to work for a company like Centennial Glass, locally owned, locally operated, and great service. Centennial Glass, Industrial Avenue here in Ottawa, and in Renfrew. Don't forget, they're up there in Renfrew. Yes, John, you got some more emails?
We do. Ryan asks, why has the Canadian government not recommended the AstraZeneca, why is that so hard to say? The AstraZeneca vaccine for under 55. On the government website, and he links to canada.ca, it says that it's not recommended for those under 55.
Yeah, it's the whole thing about AZ is very strange. I mean, we've had so many recommendations. Small wonder that so many people are very concerned and confused about this. Although I'm glad to see that when they announced that it would be available 45 plus, that apparently the pharmacies have been heavily booked. The only problem here, of course, is there have been a lot of bookings. Whether in fact they will be able to fulfill those bookings, God only knows, because AZ apparently now, as I said before, cut back about 50%. But one of the things too, John, that's really upsetting here is that while we get cut back, delayed or doesn't arrive at all, all the European nations are getting everything that they ordered. Israel just got another 2 million doses. They've already vaccinated 100% of their people, or virtually, and about 80% both vaccinations. The UK is about 60 to 70%. They're getting more. So other nations, the United States sure as hell doesn't have any problem. So why is it only Canada? What is it about Canada that we can't seem to get the vaccines here? They're saying, oh, well, it's manufacturing problems. Well, I repeat the question. How come other nations are getting this? It's not affecting people in Switzerland or Sweden, not affecting people in Israel or UK, the United States. Why is it just Canada? What the hell is going on, John?
Peter says, speaking of the United States, President Biden spoke at 1:55 and reported 200 million jabs have been done, and also spoke about having employees getting the time to go get a jab from work. Federal U.S. government to cover the costs of employees. If they are not feeling well after the jab, the government will cover the downtime for the employee so no employees lose wages.
Thank you all. Listen, I hope you enjoyed. It was a little bit different. I know that these are grim days, but
thank you.
I thought we'd try a few funny stories. I got a million others, so if anybody wants to hear some of them, just let me know. Thank you all. We'll be back tomorrow.
Lowell Green, live on blasttheradio.com. Show info and links at blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green. Can't join us live? Subscribe to the Lowell Green podcast. Available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and more. Or ask your smart speaker to play the Lowell Green podcast. Join us live weekdays at 2 p.m. Eastern on blasttheradio.com.